Good evening, everybody, once again. I welcome you all to From Note to Sound, one keyboard full orchestra. So, today, our topics, I will start from the first one. The first session of today's masterclass is going to be sight reading, the art of musical literacy. So, what is sight reading? Before I dive into that, I want to give us something we can all relate to. Before we started writing and reading, we were already speaking. We were talking. So they didn't give birth to us, and then the next thing was learn how to read and write. We learned how to speak before we learned how to read and write. So the same thing also applies to music. We learned how to sing, how to play music before learning how to read and write music. Once you hear sight reading, it doesn't mean that anybody can read any music. Sight reading is in levels, it's in grades. So somebody who is in grade 1 cannot read a music of grade 5. Even somebody in grade 5 may not be able to read a music of grade 5. So most times, sight reading, people who read can read a music that are 2 levels below their current level of playing. So people at grade 5 can read music at grade 3. That's the standard. Although I noticed that there are some persons that, even though they are at grade 5, they can't read grade 1 music because they haven't practiced sight reading. Sight reading is not a yardstick for who is a better musician. So that a person cannot sight read doesn't mean the person is not a good musician. And that a person can sight read doesn't mean the person is a good musician. Sight reading can help you. It can accelerate the learning process. It can accelerate a lot of things about music because the communication at that level is a little deep. Yeah. Because the ability to sight read exposes you to be able to analyze tons of music. So, but we are going to get to that. But the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't see some people who can't read music as lesser musicians. Sight reading doesn't affect your musicianship in a way. It can help it, but it doesn't translate to a better musician. So this masterclass is not talking about who is a better musician. We're just talking about sight reading as a tool on itself. So musical literacy is the bridge between knowing music theoretically and communicating it musically. Is that bridge. So because knowing music theoretically is one thing, and then being able to communicate it musically is where music literacy comes in. And that is the aspect where sight reading comes in also. Because the ability to sight read, like I said before, exposes one to be able to analyze music. But then analyzing music has its own dynamics too. Because you can see the notes on a sheet of paper doesn't mean you understand what is happening there. There are some prerequisites to you being able to analyze a sheet of music. And there are several parameters for analysis. Not one, not two, not three. So, but we are not going to talk about analysis today. All we are talking about today is sight reading. But analyzing music, sight reading does help you do that perfectly. Many of us saw Ashake's Red Bull Symphonic. That was mind-blowing. Seeing Nigerian music at that level, it's mind-blowing. the orchestra, the band, the dancers, the lighting. It's a lot of departments. A lot of departments we are actually at work there. But when you look at number of musicians on stage, you see that you have many musicians on stage. How can musicians from different places come together to make sense? People just come together, make sense. Reading music. That's why today's topic is sight reading, the art of music literacy. Having that number of persons come together, there are several things happening. But the one that concerns us today, this evening, is the orchestra and band. You can see all of them have their sheet music in front of them, except for a few. But most of the orchestra members have the sheet music in front of them. So you have different persons coming together and now making sense. So when I think about it, it's magical. It's magical. This person is playing something else, this person is playing something, but then they make sense harmonically because there was a single language everybody there can understand. And that is staff notation. Everybody on that stage understands staff notation, and they were able to interpret it and bring the music live. So that's why sight reading is very important. Sight reading makes musicians, you can just walk into a place and make music. Just make music. So we have different musicians with different backgrounds, with different reading abilities and styles, converge, and everybody shares a musical language. That's musical literacy. Very interesting. So, there is this aspect of sight reading that when I try to explain it to some persons, it seems that they have never heard about it before. But that is sight reading and music theory. Sight reading is good when you can see, oh, this is A. Let me play A on the keyboard. B, you play B on the keyboard. C, you play C on the keyboard. But that is tedious. Imagine somebody that wants to read a sentence like, Obi is a boy. And the person starts saying, Obi is a boy. It won't really make sense because you really need to read, you need to see the whole sentence as a big chunk instead of individual letters. So that is what makes sight reading at a certain level easier, because at that level you are not reading individual notes, you are reading patterns, you are reading sentences, you are reading phrases. So one of the powerful things sight readers do is to read ahead, especially at least one bar ahead of where they're playing. So if you're playing bar 1, it means you have already looked at it before you are playing. So as you are playing bar 1, your eyes is on bar 2. So it's a lot of mental work going on at that point. But theory of music helps you to see that, oh, this is a D major chord, first inversion. This is an A minor chord, second inversion. This is F sharp diminished chord. So you're not looking at individual notes. When you see, oh, this is a D major scale with some passing notes here and there. This is F sharp arpeggio with some passing. So you are reading music now makes sense when music theory sight reading now makes sense when music theory comes in. So now, but before we start talking about sight reading for some persons, there are prerequisites you need to have. There are some prerequisites you need to know. You just can't open a book and give to a two-year-old child who has never heard about A, B, C, D on how to combine those letters to form words. So just like that, there are prerequisites you have to know before you can start talking about sight reading. And one of them is note recognition. You should be able to recognize the notes on the piano and also recognize the notes on the staff. You also have to understand basic rhythm, time signatures, note durations, then also basic techniques. Obviously, you can't play the piano with your palms facing up. It's not possible. So you need to understand basic techniques, hand positions, and some basic exercises. Also, some basic repertoires on the instrument also helps. So when you now start talking about sight reading, it's not sounding like rocket science. It is something that, okay, you can now relate to. So if one have not been able to cover these fundamentals, it is very essential that the person goes back to cover these fundamentals before coming to the next stage, which is sight reading. So even if you have not covered these fundamentals, what we are still talking about will be very beneficial to you. Now you know that, okay, there is a place to start. The place to start is for me to understand what those lines and spaces are in relation to this particular note on the keyboard or wherever. Or for singers, what is the frequency of the notes I am seeing on this line? What is the frequency of the notes I am seeing on this space? So that is where you start from before you now move to proper sight reading. So these prerequisites are very important for you to know. I have had the opportunity to evaluate some persons to say, okay, this is your level of sight reading. This is now the things you should be practicing. And over time, we can evaluate again. Most times, it is best to have a teacher evaluate your sight reading level. It helps a lot. So you are not practicing things that are too difficult, like I did when I wasn't informed. So I was practicing. After reading about Franz Liszt, oh my God, I was reading anything. Let it be music. So sometimes when I take some very complex music to read, my brain will just shut down. It's quite funny. But then I discovered that there must be a way. I kept on searching. So because I was just reading randomly. At the end of it paid off. But it was very stressful. One doesn't need to pass through that stress. You need someone to evaluate your level and then help to place you at a particular grade and say, okay, for now, your technical ability can be grade 5, while your sight reading ability is grade 1. Yeah, there are some persons that when you hear them play, you be like, oh, this guy must be a god. But when you just give them a simple hymn, they can't play it. They will need to study it like they are studying a concerto. So the technical ability can be very different from the sight reading ability. That's why I said earlier that Sight reading ability is not a yardstick for a better musician. So people can argue that you can be a good musician without knowing how to sight read. Fine and good, perfect. There are blind people who don't read music that make great music. So, but then when we are talking about music literacy, we are talking about connecting to the music in a very deeper way. So it's a tool you need to have if you wish to. But why not have it when you can actually get it? Because it unlocks the door to millions of repertoire. Why did Sightreading even come to the limelight? Because the music outgrew human memory. Music outgrew human memory. Like, I have in my library, I have thousands of pieces. And these thousands of pieces, it will be difficult to remember all of these. And prehistoric times, human beings have been passing down messages, histories orally. So, but there was a time we can't continue this way. We have to invent something. So we started writing things down. Now we are in a modern age where we can save things on our gadgets, and people can access it years later. So that is musical advancement, because music outgrew human beings. It outgrew human memory. So how do we store this music? Record and sheet music. So most pieces were recorded, others were put into staff notation and some other notations. Sulfur notation is a very powerful notation also for singers. Even some musicians use it also. Many musicians, even some of us that read stuff, use sulfur notations. Sulfur notation is not a substandard notation, it's a standard music notation. So sometimes I hear people talk down on people that can't read stuff because, or they say you are reading an inferior notation. No, sulfur notation is not inferior. In short, it even helps your ear training better, especially at the beginning level. It helps. It is more relatable to people than staff notation when you are starting to teach music. So sulfur notation is a standard notation, world standard notation, yes. So, in essence, everything we are talking about today is sulfur notation, staff notation is not scary. It's not an impossible task or impossible skill one can actually achieve, but there is a sequence of patterns that one have to follow, from the prerequisites to grading yourself and then to actual sight reading. And for those who have the prerequisites already, how do you sight read? The first things one has to do is choice of sight reading materials. Like this year, I have many pieces. I've never seen them before. I just entered IMSLP and was just looking for strange composers, and I was just downloading their pieces. Already I have my template already for this year, hoping to read about 700 to 1,000 pieces if I can. I'm maybe a little more busier this year. Last year we did over 1,000 pieces. So it helps you. So now, if you have the prerequisites already, first things first is grade, understand, try to find someone who is better and knowledgeable to evaluate where you are currently. Everybody has a level they are. Everybody, there must be a level where you can be assigned to. So, okay, this person is technically grade 8, sight reading level grade 3. It is possible. So, first of all, that's what you should do once you have the prerequisites cleared. Read yourself. Then, next thing is actual sight reading. You shouldn't read something that is too hard, too difficult, and then you also shouldn't read something that is too simple. It doesn't help your sight reading ability at all. So, selecting good materials is the next thing. Maybe a teacher can help you with that. But at a certain level, you'll be able to choose by yourself pieces that you can read. So, when you have chosen the pieces to read, now you should ensure that you do this at least 10 minutes every day. 10 minutes every day. Some people might find it difficult, but if you can sustain 10 minutes every day of reading new music you have never seen before, by the end of this year, you will be amazed. I'm telling you, you'll be amazed. 10 minutes of reading a music you have never seen before. It is magical. It works like magic. So, select the pieces, make your choices, and then read every day. At least 10 minutes. The most important thing here is consistency. It's not the volume of pieces you read, but consistency. That you are reading and you are intentional about the increasing the difficulties. Yes, you have to be increasing the difficulty of what you are reading as time goes on. By the end of the day, if you're not able to read hymns as of this January, if you are reading consistently every day for 10 minutes, by the end of the year you can read hymns comfortably. Simple hymns, not anthems. Simple hymns comfortably. You can increasing the difficulty as you go. Increase the key signature, accidentals, G major, D major, B flat major, E flat major. Now start increasing the volume, because when you start, you should not start with pieces that are 60 bars, 200 bars. You can just start with 4-bar music, and then after a while increase to 8 bars, 16 bars, 32 bars, and so on. So that's how you increase the difficulty over time. And if you're able to do it consistently from now till December, you'll be able to read music. Like, to a very good extent, you'll be able to read well. So it's not rocket science. It's not something that one cannot do. Although sometimes it is being presented to look like something that is left for a certain group of persons or a certain breed of individuals. Anybody can read. If I can read music, if I can read staff notation, anybody can read it. Talking about increasing the difficulties, for pianists, while you are starting out, it is always advisable to start with hands separately. Hands separately, right hand, left hand, then gradually start joining them together. If you get very good sight reading materials, they actually prepared in that manner. Right hand, left hand, then the right hand plays more notes, left hand plays lesser notes. Gradually, they start increasing the difficulties as time goes on. Then the next thing you have to try to learn is looking ahead of where you are playing. Because if you are playing at a particular bar and then your eye is still there, that is not movement. You are not moving. You will be very slow. So it is very important that you intentionally practice looking ahead of where you are playing. That is a very big game changer for sight reading. It might be slow at a time. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but then with time, you master it. And the ability to sight read is what makes mental practice make sense. Some persons don't know that we can just sit in a plane, traveling, and then just reading through a score and practicing mentally. Some people think it's not possible, but that's where sight reading comes in. It's a mental practice, and it is possible, and it's very effective too. So because at that moment, you're not reading notes. That's what one thing sight reading trains you. It doesn't train you to be reading notes. You are reading patterns. You are reading phrases. You are trying to understand the stories behind the composer's writings. You try to see if you can penetrate into the mind of the composer without even touching your instrument. So sight reading is really a very powerful tool, and it is music literacy. So sight reading is a very powerful tool. Sight reading is music literacy because it is that tool, it is that language that helps you and I and other musicians to communicate effortlessly and seamlessly without having seen ourselves for the first time. You can just, there's a concert, so please, everybody, are you available? Come. Everybody just comes. The pieces the scores are distributed to musicians, and the conductor just 1, 2, go. Music starts. It's magical. That brings me to the conclusion of this masterclass. So, if you have further questions, you can drop it on the comment section, or you can bring it to the community WhatsApp group. I will look at the comments on this video. I also look at your responses on the community WhatsApp group, where we can all learn and keep growing together. So, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I'm very grateful for your time. I hope you were also able to gain some insight that can help you to become a better musician. This particular topic I just talked about is not for musicians alone. I hope you were able to gain some insight on what we have discussed so far. Looking forward to great sight readers and great musicians. So we can make more music together. I'll be looking forward to your questions. If there are things you need clarity on, I'll be expecting to hear those things on the comment section or on the WhatsApp group, community WhatsApp group. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I am very grateful for your time. And once again, thank you for your goodwill messages. Thank you so much for your prayers and for the gifts. I am very grateful. Thank you, and God bless you.